So this is a pretty special video for me because this week I am marking and celebrating 15 years of running my handmade jewelry business, Ethereal. 15 years ago this week, I opened my Etsy shop in the hope I might just sell a couple of the pieces that I had accumulated through my jewelry making hobby. I never originally intended for it to become a full-time business, let alone that I would become fully self-employed and be that way for the past 13 years while also employing my husband full-time. So that one decision to open that Etsy shop 15 years ago led to a life that I could not have possibly imagined and that I could not be happier about. 5 years after starting Ethereal, I launched Create and Thrive, which was my business that I developed to teach and help other makers how to take their handmade hobby and turn it into a thriving and profitable business. And I've been running both of those businesses side by side ever since. Today, I wanted to celebrate by talking about 15 things I've learned in the last 15 years of running my own business. But before we get onto that, I just want to quickly let you know about a couple of celebratory things that are going on this week. So I am doing a giveaway for a $150 voucher to the Ethereal shop to celebrate 15 years. That's going to be open only to people on my mailing list, my silver service list for my Ethereal customers. So if you would like to be in the draw to win, make sure to join my mailing list. I will leave a link in the description below so you can do that. And I'm also running a 15% off sale. I will leave a link to more information about that in the description below as well. And that's my way of celebrating and sharing the love and saying thank you back to all of my lovely customers who supported me over the last 15 years. Okay, so number one is you are never done. I think a lot of people, when they go into business, they have this idea that they can get stuff done and then relax and then they're finished. There's no such thing as being finished. When you run a business, there is literally always something more that you could be doing. You can never just walk away from it and go, yeah, I'm finished, I'm done, it's all done. There's nothing more. It just doesn't exist. And it took me a little while to get comfortable with this and accept this and learn how to be able to step away from my business without stressing that I was missing out or that I was failing or that I wasn't doing something I should be doing. You just have to learn how to let go and know that, yep, it's just the way it is. It's consistent, it's constant, you'll never be finished, and that's just okay. The second thing is that you have to evolve. You can't just get to a point and you're done growing. You're always evolving, you're always growing, and that's a good thing. You know, you can't get complacent. It's easy to do, especially when you've been in business for a while and things are working and things are ticking along. It's easy to get complacent and just think, oh yeah, what's working now will always keep working, but that is not the case. It never is the case, and it never will be the case. So you always have to be willing to evolve and change and move in different directions. Number 3 is it gets easier until it doesn't. And this is related to the last point. A lot of these points are interrelated, but there is definitely a learning curve in the beginning when you are setting up a business, learning how to run the business. Especially like in handmade business, you probably know how to make the thing that you want to sell. Although I know there's a lot of people, you know, who might just start a new hobby and still be learning their craft as well as learning how to sell their craft. But generally speaking, most of us who come into it sort of have some idea of the craft. What we don't know is the business, and therefore there is a massive learning curve at the beginning, a steep one. And then it does kind of flatten out. It does get easier. Because you've learned all that stuff. But then, refer to my previous point, you always have to be evolving. And my next point, which is you always have to be learning. So it does get easier, but then there will always be another challenge that will come along. You know, this year has been a challenging year for so many of us. I started my business in 2008 during the global financial crisis, and we are currently in some other sort of financial crisis, which will no doubt be given a name in the future. But basically, you know, interest rates are high. We basically are in a recession. People don't have a lot of discretionary income, and that means businesses like mine, which are nice to haves but not necessities, are suffering in the current economic climate. So when that happens, you know, you have to evolve and it starts to get hard again, and you have to learn new lessons and you have to try new things, and you have to perhaps work a little bit harder or a little bit smarter to keep yourself in the game. And so Also, my point is you always have to be learning, which is number 4. You always have to be trying new things, learning new things. You can't rest on your laurels. That's a theme you're picking up here. You can't just sit back and relax. And it's easy to do. I've certainly done that, and I've learned that lesson the hard way, is that if you do get too complacent, you do sort of sit back and relax a little bit too much, things are going to change, that the sand is going to shift under your feet, and it's going to remind you that you need to get back up and you need to be exploring and running and learning again. The 5th thing I've personally learned is that I never want a job again. I love being self-employed. I love being in charge of my time. I love the freedom that it gives me. And that is my kind of number 1 motivator that keeps me going, is I don't want to get a job. I don't want Nick to have to get a job. I want to stay self-employed. I'm not saying that's going to be the way it is going to be for the rest of our lives. Things might happen outside of our control, which make that a necessity. But I'm going to work really hard to make that as little as a possibility as possible, because I love the lifestyle that being self-employed gives us, and I wouldn't want it any other way. Now, that isn't for everybody. Some people, a lot of my students have actually discovered that they don't want to be fully self-employed. It doesn't work for them, either because they are not self-motivated, like internally motivated. They need someone telling them what to do, basically, or they miss the socialization of having a job and getting out of the house regularly. Even I miss that sometimes as an introvert, and I force myself to, get out and socialize so that I'm not just literally in the house with one person and 2 cats for weeks on end and not speaking to another human being, which you can do when you are self-employed. So that might not be for everyone, but it works for me. The 6th thing is that the customer is not always right, but you must respect them. So it can be really difficult when your customer is wrong, because sometimes they are. They've made a mistake, they've read something wrong, they're upset about something that is their fault. But you have to be respectful, and that's part of running a business, is learning how to mediate your own emotions and control your own instinctual responses to frustration, and make sure that you are always putting your best foot forward and being respectful and without giving in. And that is a hard thing to do sometimes for a lot of people, but it is an important lesson to learn. Accept that sometimes things will go wrong, sometimes it'll be your fault, sometimes it won't be your fault, but you have to do your best to get through it in a mature and responsible way. Number 7 is that passion is necessary but not sufficient to a successful business. I think this stands for any sort of business. It's certainly true for a handmade business or a creative business. You need to have passion for your craft or your creative outlet, but it's not sufficient to running a successful business. There is a heck of a lot more that goes into the business side of things and being able to maintain that for years and years on end than just having passion. So passion will get you a long way, but it won't get you all the way. The 8th thing is that this whole self-employed business life, I think, is so much easier when you're part of a team and you have a supportive partner. I can tell you with 100% accuracy and surety, I would not be where I am today. We would not be where we are today if I didn't have Nick working with me, supporting me right from the beginning. Like right from the beginning, he did the bulk of the housework, the bulk of the domestic stuff. He is still domestic manager and I am business manager. Our paths cross over. He works in the business, I work in the home, but we have our domains. He's in charge of the domestic domain and I'm in charge of the business domain, because it just makes it easier when somebody is doing the mental work and has the mental load. And I'm sure a lot of you have heard this concept of the mental load. It makes it a lot easier when you are sharing that load with somebody else. So yeah, I would not be where I am today without his help, and it definitely makes life easier if you have somebody supportive, whether it's your partner, your housemate, a family member, a friend, who can be your sounding board and who believes in you and will be supportive of you in both emotional and a practical, everyday sense. The 9th thing is that the fundamentals never change. The fundamentals of business never change, but it's just kind of the set dressing that changes. You can, as long as you understand the fundamentals of communication and sales and advertising and marketing, then you will always be able to figure it out because you have the principles in place. You just perhaps have to change how you execute and how you do those things. But like I said, having respect for your customer, making good quality products, making sure that you get your work out in front of people in whatever way that might be, marketing in whatever way that might be, All of those sorts of things are always going to be true. And it's nice to kind of have that solid foundation upon which to build a business. Number 10, there is no destination, only the journey. I think a lot of people get into business thinking, oh, I want to make X amount of money. I want to get to so many sales. There's nothing wrong with that. And I support having concrete goals that you are aiming towards. They help you get clear and they motivate you, but don't let them constrain you, and don't let not meeting those goals make you feel like you've failed somehow. There is no end point. And you'll realize this at some point when you're running your business. It goes back to number 1, that you're never done. There is no finish line that you are crossing. There is only the next waypoint on the journey, and then you continue on and you find that next waypoint and you head towards it, and then you find the next one and the next one and so on. And that's part of the beauty of it all. You're never done until you give up. Related to that is a mantra I like to remember, and that is focus on what you can do today and then repeat. Yes, you should have long-term plans. Yes, you should have a vision for where your business is going. But at the end of the day, all you have is now. All you have is this moment and this day to win the day. I'm sure isn't there some motivational book about that? It's really easy to get overwhelmed with everything you have to do, all the balls you have to keep in the air that you are juggling. So if you feel that way, just ignore all of that and just focus on today. What can I do today? What can I achieve in the time I have today? And just do that. And then do that again tomorrow. And if you keep doing that, you will move forward. It's inevitable. Related to this is the next point, and that is systems are more important than goals. It's your systems and your habits and your processes that will allow you to achieve success rather than the goals you have set. Because again, it comes back to what you do every day. If you have good systems in place, you have good habits in place, you have good processes in place, it's almost inevitable that you will succeed because you're just on a smooth, constant path moving forwards. Now, these are going to look different to everybody, and everybody's going to develop their own habits and processes and systems. The key is developing ones that serve you rather than ones that don't serve you. For example, when you do come into this being fully self-employed thing, it's very easy to fall into the working 9 to 5, 5 days a week. But does that actually serve you? Does that actually work for your business? Maybe you want to have Mondays and Tuesdays off. Maybe you want to have Wednesdays and Fridays off. Maybe you want to have 4 days a week off and work 3 days a week. Whatever, you have to figure it out for yourself. What sort of time frame works for you? When are your energy levels fluctuating? When do you do your best work? What type of work do you do at the best times of day? What are your habits that you set up to create new work? What's your marketing systems and processes? All of these things, once you build these up bit by bit, they will just run much more smoothly and you will have much less resistance. And fighting against the resistance is an endless fight. And the more you can reduce resistance, the better you are going to be and the easier time you're going to have. Number 13 is nobody really knows what they're doing. We are all winging it. We're all figuring it out as we go. We're all experimenting. We're all trying things and seeing what works for us. Imposter syndrome is a big thing. People look at, the success stories in the industry or whatever and go, gosh, they're so brilliant. They must have everything figured out. They must never have any problems. Not true. Not true at all. I've never got it all figured out, and I help other people figure things out. But that's the thing, this is why I love teaching and why I got into it in the first place, is because when I figure something out, I'm like, oh, cool. I really wish other people would know this. So I'd like to help them learn this. And you're always learning from other people. You're always figuring stuff out. I've never got it all 100% worked out, and neither has anybody else, no matter what they tell you. Number 14 is that inspiration is for amateurs. You can sit around and wait for inspiration until the cows come home. But if you have a creative business, you can't wait. You just have to get it done. So you have to learn how to be creative when you need to be creative. You can't just only work when the muse moves you. You know, you have to do the work when it needs to be done. And that's why I say inspirations for amateurs. Professionals sit down and they create. They create all the time. They create constantly. They create when they need to. Some of it might be crap. A lot of it will probably be great. And they create and they iterate. And that's just what you do as a professional creative. I mean, if that sounds like hell to you, then maybe being in business is not the right choice, because it's simply the way it is when you are in business. You're constantly creating products, you're creating marketing, you're creating, you know, Instagram posts and reels and TikToks and Facebook posts or what, you know, you're always creating. You're writing blog posts, you're writing emails, you're writing to potential stockists and trying to entice them to buy from you. You're putting together wholesale catalogs, all of the things that go along with running a business. You have to create all of those things. And so creativity is the fundamental sort of bedrock of being successful in business. Because the thing is, when you are a creative person and you're a maker or whatever, it's not just the making of the products that's creative, it's everything else. Business can be a creative pursuit as well, and it is a creative pursuit, and that's kind of part of the fun of it. And if you can find the enjoyment and the challenge in that, then you're going to go a long way to being successful in the business side of things as well. And the final thing that I've learned personally for myself is what success means to me. Success is going to be different for everybody. For me, success is waking up every morning and having the freedom to decide how I spend my day. That is it. Now, this is obviously a caveat. You earn enough money to survive. You earn enough money to pay your bills, put some money away for retirement, save some money, do the things you want to do. Obviously, money is important. Otherwise, we wouldn't be running a business. We'd just be giving stuff away, right? So you have to earn a certain amount to be comfortable, but then that's not enough to keep me going. You know, like once I've earned that amount of money, that's cool. I'm happy. That's great. But it doesn't fill me with a sense of achievement, a sense of success, like having the freedom over my time does. And this might be completely different for you. You might have a different definition of success, but I have found consistently over the years with all of the students, you know, when I run my Setup Shop course and I run my Your Year to Thrive course, I ask questions about this. I'm like, what does success look like to you? What's your vision for the future? And you know, 9 times out of 10, people will come back with something about, you know, spending time with family, doing the things you want to do, being able to be creative, having freedom of time. All of those things will come back. Long story short, you have to find what success is to you and go after that. I would love to hear from you in the comments. What are the lessons you have learned through running your businesses? Anything here resonate with you that you have also learned, or has there been something else that's come up for you in your own business journey? I would love to hear from you in the comments. Make sure to give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this one, and don't forget to subscribe if you'd like to watch my future videos on how to have a thriving and profitable handmade business and a happy and healthy work from home lifestyle. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy these sorts of things I've learned videos, I have one here that I did when I turned 40, about 40 things I've learned in 40 years. It's got a little bit of business stuff in there, but it's mostly things just about life. So I hope you enjoy that one next. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.